third operation. Okay, this is one of the way that Federal Reserve Bank or the central bank is using to help with the economy, to help to expand the money supply. Oh yeah, we did that exercise the other day, didn't we? We did the in-class exercise, and that's worth 3 points. Most of you got it. Some of you calculator is not working, so you're not getting the correct answer. Have you heard this excuse? Calculator is not working. And that's why I asked you to write down your working. The working is important because I look at it, yeah, your working is right, but when you punch in the calculator, you didn't get the correct answer. So yeah, I know, you get partial credit because get a better calculator. Or you don't know how to use a calculator, I don't know which one. So, but make it happen. Okay, we got two oval shape agents. This one is known as central bank or Fed. Same thing. And this is the public. This is all people like you and me. Take time to draw all the people here. Never mind, 100 times. How about that? Okay, so there are two operations. One is called purchase or buying or bond by the Fed.
From the public.
What?
From the public.
Oh, very good. From the public. See the smiling face first before the explanation. So that means that, like that, and so this is going to be, if I buy bonds, let's do that exercise. Oops. That's a problem. So I do the exercise again. Oh, come on. We were going to, okay, so what are we doing here? I'm buying. This is so funny. It's like, okay. We'll use a different person. Use a person next to you. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Are we buying or are we selling here? So I'm buying from you, right? So you got a piece of paper. So give it to me. So, okay, so I'm buying these bonds, $10 million bonds from Nathan, and I'm gonna give him how much? $10 million. Is he rich?
Yeah.
Yes. Immediately he becomes rich, and he's not going to hide it under the tree or something. So what he's gonna do with that 10 million, I think last time we used 1 million.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, scale it down, sorry Nathan.
That's still $1 million.
Yeah, I know, still it's fake, right? Well, we're doing demonstration. Should have used a Monopoly money in my office, yeah, I got a 1946 edition of Monopoly. Still there, yeah. Alright, so we got here, and so what are we selling? We're selling bonds, yes. Okay. So now Nathan is rich. So he represents the public. Okay, so he has a smiling face now and say, oh yeah, and $1 million he's gonna deposit it into the banking system, commercial bank, and then, so the reserve goes up in the commercial bank, BB&T. What's your bank?
First bank.
Oh, First Bank. Okay, so First Bank reserve goes up. And then finally what happened is, with that going up, that's going to expand the money supply in the economy. Remember that the money supply consists of currency held by the public, which is linear, and then the other part is the, what do we call, a bank deposit. Okay, so in other words, money supply goes up. This is important. This steps here, 10 star. Okay, and we call this expansionary monetary policy. And then we do the reverse. So the reverse would be, what is it? So this is buying. And remember that the active agent is the Fed. So you have seen that all this time Nathan is kind of like passive. He's not the one who actively do the trading. I'm the one who do the trading. I represent the Fed, the central bank. So the other one, the opposite of it will be, so this is what happened. This is a review. So if you miss a class, I expect you to read it on your own. Okay, next, the other side will be the selling of bonds by the Fed to the public. So this is when I walk up to Nathan again, and this is that $1 million bond, and I'm gonna give it to him. sell it to him. And it's not free. So he has to pay me, thank you, $1 million. So now he is $1 million poorer. Poor thing. They say poor thing. And poor bank, first bank. Poor first bank. So what happened now is because when I take that $1 million, I go to my bank and it clears. It clears means he's poorer, right? By 1 million, and then what happened is money supply goes down. Everybody understand this step here? Okay, when it goes down, we call this contractionary monetary policy. During the Great Recession, this is what Ben Bernanke did. The Federal Reserve Bank chair. Is that mine? Okay, let me have it back. Demonstration's over. All right. So remember that. And that's how they control the money supply in the economy, by buying and selling of bonds. So therefore, money supply goes up or come down, respectively. And remember that multiplier, what we call money multiplier effect, right? Because it's not, when you translate it to the bank, it's not just a dollar for dollar, but it is a multiple. So we calculate that last time, that was 5 times. Remember 1 divided by the RD ratio, and that's 0.2 or 20%, so you get 5 times. So this is basically what it is, repeating, okay? This is important. And so we're gonna do an example, okay, with this open market operation. So you start off with the currency held by the public being 1,000 shekels. That's like a Jewish currency. And the reserves is 200. What is reserve? We talked about it last time. This is a bank reserves. Everybody remember that equation? So give it to me, I'll look at your notes again, because we need to refresh our memory. I don't want to erase this. So money supply consists of 2 items. Tell me which are the 2 items. Okay, very good. So I'm just going to write currency. You know that's the one held by the public class. What is it? Deposit. Now we know that deposits, your deposit consists of 2 items.
Reserve divided by
Reserve.
ratio.
Now you need this equation for your test on Friday. Divided by RD ratio. Okay, you need this equation. I'm not gonna give it to you. You need to know that one. All right. So the reserve is 200, which means is your numerator. And your reserve deposit is 20%, which means 0.2. Okay, so money supply, plugging into that equation in English over there, consists of 1,000, which comes from currency held by the public. And then the second term is the important one. That's the one that you have the multiplier effects. So again, in parentheses, 200 is your reserve or bank reserve, and 0.2 is your RD ratio. And remember I mentioned that. I think everybody could do that. Maybe one student have trouble with this kind of math. So you do this one first in the parentheses. So what is that? 200 divided by 0.2, what is it? Well, actually, you know the answer is 2,000, this is 2,000, so that has to be 1,000, that's right. Okay, so open market purchase, so this is the scenario now, like we're doing that in-class exercise the other day. So the scenario is if there is an open market purchase, not sales, they're not the same. Purchase is buying, sell is selling. So which one is it? Is this one on the right-hand side, okay? So if there's open market purchase of $100 and your reserve will go up to 300 because this goes to right here, the bank reserve, not going to that public currency held by the public. So this goes up, and again, you could see that 300 divided by 0.2 is 1,500. Thank you very much. 1,500 plus 1,000, you get 2,500. So the difference here is 500. Okay, and that 500 difference comes from that multiplier. because, yeah, I could erase this, to help students who weren't here the other day. So your money multiplier is like that. 1 divided by the RD ratio. Okay, so that RD ratio, we did it 0.2, so therefore you get 5. Okay, so that 5 times here is talking about right here. So you got, now what do you get at 5 times? 100 times 5 is 500. So before this was 1,000, and now this is 1,500. So the difference here is 500. And since you're not touching that first term, so the difference here is 500. So what's the point? The point is every time that happens, whether it is the buying or selling of bonds, right? The money supply in the economy does not go down by exactly 100, but 5 times. In this case, it's 5 times higher. Instead of 100, you're buying 100, but then it multiply becomes 5 times of that, which is 500. So in other words, money supply expand by the multiple effects because of that multiplier effect. And later on, we'll talk about it a little bit more and actually apply to what happened during the Great Depression. Next, we want to talk about velocity of money. What is velocity? You study that in math and in mechanics. So what's another word to describe the word velocity?
Speed.
Very good, speed. So think about you driving on I-95 in a sports convertible, and your hair is flying. And you drive at like, what is that speed limit? This is USA, so we use miles, right? So you hit 80 miles per hour. I was going to say 150. That's kilometer. I have to remember what country I'm in. Which side of the street I'm driving, right or left. Okay, so velocity is talking about how fast money changes hands. Have you ever got a piece of dollar note, you look at it and say, oh, yuck. Yuck what? It's falling apart. It looks like worms have been on it. You look at it and say, I don't want to have to deal with this $1 bill. Did you know you could go to the bank and trade it in? They give you a brand new mint condition $1. How many of you done that before? Now you know you can do. Oh, you done that before? Okay. If $100 bill, I hope not $1.
Oh, well, it was actually a $50 bill, and it was like
Okay.
almost ripped in half, and I was like, nope.
Very good. So we have someone testify that she's done that. Very good. So the speed at which money circulates, how fast it is. So, and the equation that we use is right here. It's your nominal GDP divided by the stock of money, or the amount of money. So if you write down further, that means your price level times real GDP, P times Y divided by M here. Okay, so we're gonna use that equation. This is math. So this is the same, right? If you rewrite that equation, so it looks like that. And this equation has a very special name. It's called quantity theory of money. I think it's quantity or quantitative. It doesn't matter. Let's go for quantity theory of money. Now, what's so significant about this? Before we talk about that, let's do one example here. In this example, so basically what we want to do is we say, well, we got M1 and M2, remember? M2 includes M1. M1 is known as a narrow definition of money. M2 is the broad definition of money. So there you have it. Nominal GDP is given at this number, so using M1. So what you do is you use the same equation before, which is velocity is equals to P times Y, which is your 14,000 some million. So that's in your numerator. And then in your denominator, you have the so-called M. Okay, but there are two cases of M here. One is M1, the other one is M2. So which one has a larger value, M1 or M2?
M2.
Why?
Because it has M1 included.
Very good, because M2 includes M1. So if you have the same numerator, but you're dividing by a bigger denominator, of course you get a smaller number, okay? But does it make sense? That M1 travels much faster than M2. Yes, that essentially is the definition. What is M1? M1 is a narrow money, it's liquid, it's mobile. You could convert it into cash easily. Your checking account, you just have to walk up to your ATM, withdraw $100. That's it, you got it. That's cash. But with your mutual funds market, you can't just walk up there and withdraw. You have to do the buying and selling, and it takes typically like 3 business days. Or any interbank transaction, transfer of money from Citibank to Bank of America, it would take like 3 working days, and then they charge a nominal fees. Velocity, or the speed in which money changes hands, that's what it means here. It's determined by a number of factors, including technology such as ATM and debit card. What about it? Okay, let's talk about your ATM. Now, we know that in this country, it's so advanced that, well, yeah, you got ATM machines in almost every street corner, but not quite. But, yeah, we got a few places here in town. Most of you know where it is. So then it's not so necessary for you to hold money in cash. How many of you have more than $50 in your wallet right now? Raise your hand.
Don't raise your hand.
One? Okay. Well, never mind. You didn't see who, so nobody could rob her. Yeah. I happen to have 40. Oh gosh, and that's rare. Usually it's 0, because I thought it was from the Myrtle Beach. Just get $40 in case some nice waitresses, waiters, I tip heavily, so I could give it to them and bless them. Yeah, make their days.
Nice.
So, tell me where you work. I'll eat it. Never mind. I have given 100% a tip before, yeah. Velocity is determined by a number of factors, including technology such as ATM. Okay, what about debit cards? Now, the other day when I asked how many of you have debit cards, that's almost everybody. How many of you have credit card? Why is your hand blue? You showing off your hand? Is that anything significant?
I went to Pembroke Dam, put my hand on.
Oh, I see that. Okay, that explains it. Lots of good food, right? Okay, so debit cards. So if you have debit cards, basically, that's like cash. Most places take it. So then there's, so in other words, you might use it more often because of the convenience of using credit card. Okay, let's look at the relationship here on the y-axis on the number of Latin American countries. Okay, Venezuela is up there, and then you got all these other Peru, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Paraguay, Uruguay, Brazil, Bolivia, all on this bottom here. So let's look at what is the relationship we're looking at. We look at how much money has grown and versus inflation. Let's come back to this equation. Oh yeah, this is the equation. Let's talk about this equation and then we go back to that diagram. I think this is supposed to be before the diagram. So if you look at this, right, remember this is called quantity theory of money, and this is actually given out by a guy called Milton Friedman. Sure I spell his name right, because it's a very important Jewish name, and he's proud of that. How many of you have heard about this economist? Nobody? You have heard about it. Very good. A number of you have heard about it. Very good. Oh yeah, you went to that induction ceremony. He was mentioned. So he's a famous macroeconomist. What is he famous for? He won a Nobel Prize in economics in 78 or 79, because he came to Singapore. And I saw his face on the paper. I said, oh, I want to go meet this guy. He published a number of books that are very popular. If you go to any used price bookstore today, check out the economic section. and you will be able to see some of the books he wrote. One of them, the most famous one, don't know how many copies have been sold, it's called Freedom to Choose. This is his book. Okay. Professor of economics from University of Chicago. Won that Nobel Prize in economics. What is he famous for? He's famous for this theory called quantity theory. So according to this theory, which is right here, so this is the same thing. You could rewrite it, so MB and BM is the same. According to this theory, he said, let's just assume that economics is about a whole bunch of assumptions, really. Assuming that the velocity is constant, and your Y is also constant, which is your GDP. Then pretty much, you're free to adjust these two variables here. Specifically, if you want this equation to hold, or this quantity theory to hold, let's just say that if M goes up by 10%, if you want this equation to hold, given that these two terms, V and Y, are constant, then pretty much P has to go up by 10%. Whoa, that is a revolutionary discovery. You might think, well, it's nothing. But the reason that it was so important was because he explained, his theory explained the Latin American economic crisis in the 80s. What happened in the 80s? So there was an economic crisis going on in these countries that we saw just now, okay? And basically they were experiencing very high rate of inflation. Now I know in this country you never heard about inflation more than 10%, except during the, remember the first and second oil shock I mentioned. Above 10% is like, whoa, this is a lot, But in these Latin American countries, in the 80s, they experienced something like 80% inflation rate. Can you imagine if we have 80% here in this country? I don't know what will happen to us. And then remember, I talked about Soviet Union collapse in the late 80s, 1989. And then all these countries, little countries came about. And a lot of these countries experienced, when they started to become independent from the Soviet Union, they experienced as high as 100 to 400% of inflation rate. Now remember, I also told you one of my students in my previous exam semesters from Zimbabwe, yes. And he said, oh yeah, the government keep doing this stuff, printing the money, and his presentation was about inflation in Zimbabwe. He actually shows a Zimbabwe $1 million note. He says it's worth nothing. In this country, it's probably less than a dime. And because they experience, he used the term millions, a very high number there, or inflation rate. So anyway, so this is what it means here. Here it is. So you see according to this theory, you see that if you assume these two variables to be fixed, then M and P will go up in the same proportion. So we're particularly concerned about this inflation, because if you keep printing money, the growth of money goes up by, say, 10%. One of you actually did the article on printing money. And then price will go up by 10% in order for that equation to hold. And if price goes up by 10%, typically you're saying that inflation rate has gone up by 10%. Okay, so that's what it is. And so what that means is high rates of money growth. One way to do it is keep printing money, which a lot of these African countries did. And those Latin American countries did the same thing in the 80s. They are associated with high rates of inflation. How? Because too much, you heard about this expression, too much money chasing too few goods. Oh, that is so important. We have another term for that. Anybody know? We did that in chapter 3. See if you remember. I'm testing how many of you know your stuff real well. So I'm going to give you help here. So that particular situation I have in parentheses, too much money chasing too few goods, refer as excess. Fill in the blank.
Supply.
Demand. Well, at least you know it's either demand or supply. It's demand. Well, this is like this. Assuming that each one of us here have $10,000. Is that a lot? I think so. Buy a lot of stuff with 10,000. That's everybody, economy including you. You got $10,000. I'm gonna order a bus. Come on by. Exactly at 2:15 p.m. the class gets out. We're all gonna hop onto the bus. We're gonna drive to First Bank. Nathan's at your bank. So we're gonna go to Nathan's bank, and then we're gonna deposit all this money, $10,000 times however many students are here. Well, actually, we changed our mind halfway through that. We decided that that's not a very good bank or something, you know. So he's not gonna defend for his bank, so we can say anything we want about his bank, yeah. We decided to drive to the mall in Fayetteville and go shopping. How about that? Y'all like shopping?
Oh, yeah.
10,000, you can buy a lot of stuff. Let's buy the whole store. Yeah. So when we get there, they saw us coming, and they saw that we had purses and our wallet were bulging out with this $10,000. They said, "Oh, these people are coming. Whoa!" Guess what they do? All this discount sign. Do you think they would display this signs? They would take down this sign and say that was a mistake. You guys got money. I am going to increase the price. Instead of 10%, and you can put on the sign, you know, I think legally, can you put like, today all the prices are 10% higher? Have you seen that before? Nobody. Oh, come on. Common sense tell you nobody is going to come by your store if you put today's price are 10% higher. Excuse me. You got a problem. Go back to economics class, right? So there is, nobody's gonna, they're just gonna secretly take down all those discount signs, and they're gonna start joking up the price, but without advertising or anything like that. And what do? Aha, in that case, we experience something called excess demand. Because we all have money, we all are rich. And when we get out there, we see that the general price, there is a tendency for the price to go up, or inflation. So remember that, because later on, towards the end of the semester, this become so important. And I'll use this example like 10 times. Okay, so let's go back to this country. What does it got to do with this countries here? So let's look at this country right here. Okay. So again, this is a amount of money growth. So this is an M. So in other words, if the M goes up, right, we will also expect the inflation to goes up. So if this is true, you would see that if you draw a line, 45-degree line, and all this country will be clustering around that 45-degree line. And it's quite accurate there. And Venezuela is right on also, because if you draw like ellipse, it will hit somewhere around that neighborhood. So what this is saying is that, oh, yeah, Milton Friedman is right. He did explain that, and that's what happened at that time. The economy was experiencing trouble. Why? How? Okay, we're gonna get to that. I mentioned printing money. So this is what happened. If high rates of money growth lead to inflation, why do countries allow their money supply to rise quickly? Now let's go back to our two variables, the budget. So what are the two variables that you need for your budget? We just had the test recently. We got, what is G?
Oh,
Not my last name, but
government,
government expenditure, government purchases, and then you have a T,
tax.
net tax. Okay, so if this is greater than T, I can't keep drawing these faces. It's supposed to- What is it?
Deficit.
Everything that starts with D, right? Deficit, the savings, all that. So if you have this,
Surplus.
yes. Everything that starts with S, surpluses. What was the other one? Savings there. Now, if you have some sort of deficit here, meaning that, oh, you spend too much on the public good, you spend too much on hospitals, building public hospital, public prison, public, hope not, public libraries, schools, and that sort of thing. Now, if you spend too much there, what is one way to correct it? Just look at this equation. One way to correct it is,
Raise tax.
Raise tax.
yeah, or don't spend so much, right? Cut this down or raise this up. That's what happened with this country. They say, oh, we got this huge budget deficit, so instead of, you know, how government don't like to say things like, oh yeah, we just cut down the expenditure, you know, and just destroy the prisons, you know, like, so we have half to maintain. No, you can't do that. So, but it's easier to raise the tax, right? But if you're in a country where everybody is poor, can you really raise the tax and expect people to pay tax?
No.
Then what do? You start doing the P thing. What is a P thing?
Raise prices.
No, you start to, Nathan, you talk about this in your paper. What was your paper about?
It's about the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, they were printing money. So they're just printing money. So they start to resort to printing money. And when you start to print money, that quantity theory kicks in. P goes up. Well, M goes up, right? You're trying to print more money. So M, if M goes up, then P goes up. We got inflation. Okay, very good. So that was what happened. This is on your test, so write something on it, notes, yeah.
Oh, boy.
No, I really shouldn't keep saying, no, this is on your test. What is that? Am I helping you? I really should now. But this is really on the test. I'll show you. So this is called percentage change rule. So according to this rule, a while ago you saw MB, right? Now, somebody tell me when I say MB means M times V. When I say PY it means P times Y. But according to this percentage rule, watch very carefully. So what this is saying is that, you could rewrite it so that the percentage change in MB on the left-hand side together is percentage change in PY, the right-hand side. Okay? And then from there you say, you can break it down by saying percentage change in M plus percentage change in V equals the percentage change in P plus, everybody note that this is a plus. Now it is not a multiplication. Percentage change in Y. Now you can only do that if the numbers are small, meaning less than 10%. So let's look at this example. So if you have 4% for change in M, percentage change in M is 4%, your percentage change in B is 1%, and that's approximately, let me change this sign here. Instead of equal now, this becomes approximately. See that wiggle sign there, the tilde sign. So approximately equal to the one on the right-hand side, which is percentage change in P plus percentage change in Y. So there it is. If you have 4 here, 4% here, and then you got 1% here, and then if you have 3% here, do you know this one? The answer is yes. Because 4 plus 1 is 5%, and what do you have to add to 3 to get to 5%? 2. So the answer is 2%. Okay, so I just told you we have a question like that on the test. So if you missed that, it's not my fault. I told you. Okay, and remember, this will only work if the percentage levels are small. Next, I want to quickly introduce, this is not quite in your book, but over the years we say we take out this money creation process. We should tell the student there is such a thing called time value of money. Now, in finance or accounting or finance class, they have covered this concept as well. You heard about the term present value. These are the earnings received in the future of less variable than earnings today. Now, if I give you a 10,000, no, that's too much. If I give you a $1,000 now in my hand, and I give you a choice, I say, well, you could take it now, or you could wait till a year later, in which you would instead of 1,000, you get 1,100. Which one would you choose, Mr. Smith? A, 1,000 cash in my hand. B, 1,100. Or you choose B. Most people would choose A because you get it right away, right? But if you're mature enough, you think about your future, then you would choose B. So I get both kinds of answers depending on if you're matured, like.
Well, I'd rather have it in increments than have it at one time.
Okay, yeah, but you chose B, which means you're patient. You will wait to get your profit, which you get more later. But then the economy could be so bad that it rise up, inflation is much higher than you lose out. So a lot of time, a lot of people would choose A. It's not right or wrong answer here. So time value of money actually saying money deposited in an interest-bearing account today will grow in value over time. So which is what you believe, Zach, because then you would wait to receive that additional amount. Here it is. If you deposit $100 at our interest and that interest rate being 10%, after 1 year,
Getting $10.
$100 times 1.1, this is how you do it. You get 110. After 2 years, you would take that 1.1 and 1.1. So this is your exponential function. 2 times. Raise it to the power of p, you get 120. You get patient enough to wait for that 10% to come about. So generally, your present value deposited today at the interest rate R will generate PV times 1 plus R after 1 year, or raised to the power of 1 plus. Well, if it is 2 years, you raise it to the power of 2. And if it is 3 years, you raise it to the power of 3, so on and so forth. So let's look at one example. In this example, we say, you could say it in the other way. What is the value of the company today if it will earn its accounting profit $14,400 in 2 years? So that will be your money stocks here, okay? You fill in the blank. So you have this equation here from the previous slide. We say present value is your whatever money that you want to earn in the future divided by the interest rate. And if it is 2 years, you raise it to the 1 plus interest rate. Raise it to the power of however number of years you have. So basically, you get it from this equation: 14,400 equals a PV times that or that. So everybody see that 14,400 would be that, and if you understand the math, it's basically PV times this amount here. So okay, so if it is interest rate is 20%, you plug it in, then you could solve it. So your present value is 10,000. Ready? Last slide. Do it. I'm not going to ask you to hand in, but I'm going to randomly pick 3 people for answers. So in other words, 10,000 deposited today, 20%, it would equal to that in 2 years. The value of the company today is 10,000 at 20% interest. So I'm going to give you a problem to work on, and then I'm going to randomly ask you an answer. So here it is, right here. Oops. Oh yeah, that's it. I didn't have the answer. That's your. So can y'all work on that? I'm going to ask you for an answer. Or you can write it down. What is the present value of the payment of $1,728 to be received 3 years from now if the annual interest rate is 15%? I'll write down the equation for you here so you can plot it in. How's that? So first write down the question very quickly. You only need 3 variables here. Okay, assuming you have written it down. So here it is. Let's write down the equation. So your present value is the future value, or your money stocks, divided by 1 plus interest rate raised to the power of however many years you have here. Okay, so let's go back to this. Yeah. So plug in the value, see what you got. I hope everybody has a calculator. I'll give you a minute to work on it. What you got? So if you were to write it down, what would you have?
1,728 on the top.
So you would have, what's this one? What is a PVO? Okay. Now you're asking what is this answer? So this is 72A. If you stay 3 years, so that will be, how many percent? 15, 3 years. So what did you have?
1,000.
Brianna, what you got? Miss Adams?
1,136.
1,000?
Point 18.
19.
Yeah.
Like this?
1.2.
1019?
1136.1819. One of those.
Okay, somebody. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay, so that means your present value is a little bit less. Okay, that's all, and I'll see you on Friday at 2:42 for the test. We only have one chapter test, then I'll let you go.
Wait, what?
Please get your